Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Muta. My name is Lola Cynthia. So the Emir of Kano Sanusi have been making some really bold statements which have stirred up some form of controversy during the mass wedding that happened on February 26th, where 1,520 women got married. The Kano government sponsored this wedding and they spent 200 million to cover this wedding. I don't even want to go into it, it's so annoying, right? So during this occasion anyway, he spoke about how traditional leaders, imam, district heads would lose their title, would be stripped of their title if they are physically abusive towards their women. Also, in a different occasion, he spoke about a bill that he intends to pass, that's the family bill, that he intends to pass that would regulate polygamy among the poor people. So in a sense that if a man wants to get married to his second wife, his wealth status will be reviewed by certain bodies, and if they don't feel that he has the means to take care of the other wife, the person will be denied the permission to marry the second wife. A lot of people have seen reason with what he has said, in the sense that they believe that regulating polygamy among the poor people would help reduce negative social vices. He also said that he has seen a link between polygamy, poverty and terrorism. So yes, a lot of people support his stance on this, and there are quite a number of people as well who do not support this stance on it, because they believe that this is something that it's allowed in their religion, that they are meant to take up to 4 wives, but he doesn't have the right to ban it or to regulate it and tell them that they don't have the economic or the financial status to take up another wife. So yes, that's what I'll be talking about today. I actually support this sanction that have been put in, but I don't think it's sustainable. I know that to create some form of, or to spark some form of behavior change in a bid to create a change in social norm, you can either use incentives or you can use sanctions which triggers fear. After the abusive man has been stripped of his title, what exactly is the next course of action? Like, what do we do with the woman? Do we take her to a safe house? So imagine if the man has been stripped off of his title and he goes back home. He's going to be really angry to see the woman that made him lose his title, so he's going to beat her more because now he has nothing to lose. Do you get what I mean? So we definitely need a long-term plan for this to be sustainable. And also, if we do want like an immediate result, or we want like a decrease in the rate of new cases of domestic abuse, this can definitely work if it's implemented effectively. So someone has to be the scapegoat for people to know that we mean business. There's been like an uproar about it. Obviously, people are like, my religion permits it, I'm allowed to have up to 4 wives, you don't have the right to tell me that I shouldn't do it. And I'm like, really? How has this gone against religion? It hasn't, because even in Islam there are two conditions that you need to have met before you are allowed to partake in polygamy. That's 1, you must be just in treating your wives, and 2, you must have the means in taking care of your wives. If you're poor, you don't have the means of doing that. I'm also a bit worried though. I'm worried about the regulation process. Like, how is it going to happen? Who is going to review it? And also, it feels like some form of class discrimination, and it can be very offensive to the poor as well. Some people have also said that this feels like a population control among the poor people, and I don't know if that is what they're heading for. It will lead to a rise in a moral and ethical conversation. So that is one aspect of it that I'm a bit worried about. And I also want to ask, like, does the legislation have the right to deny people marriage because of their economic status? I don't know. You should answer me, because I'm not really familiar with the economic part of the policies and the economic part of it. All in all, I absolutely support this bill, and I like the reason why Sanusi is going into, or is proposing this bill, that it's going to reduce neglected kids, it's going to reduce the amount of urgent marriages, reduce forced marriages, divorces, some other social negative vices. But again, we need a long-term plan, and this is where I advocate for reorientation, access to a proper family planning, birth control and good education. It should be reorientated. It's not enough to tell them that you are poor, don't get married. They need to know why they shouldn't get married. So when we do this, we give them autonomy over their decisions, so they can say, okay, I'm poor, or I'm poor right now, that's why I don't want to get married to another woman, because I can't take care of that other woman. So we need them to be able to make personal decisions regarding this that benefits them and benefits the society as a whole. Family planning and birth control is also so important, especially with families where poverty is prevalent. And I know that this is a very delicate and a very tricky topic in regards to Islam religion, but I still believe that it's something very important. It's high time we start talking about it. I don't even think the Emir Sanusi would support this stance on birth control, because there was something that he said that got to me. This was when he was talking about the bill that he was going to propose. That's the family bill. He said to prevent alien laws and culture from penetrating into our religion, that this bill is going to prevent that. So when people usually say that, I'm already a bit wary about their perspective in regards to other, I won't say Western, but other Western health procedures, and family care and birth control is definitely one of, because even if that bill is passed, I'm very certain that there will be poor people who will still marry more than one wife. So we definitely need to have alternatives put in place. Better education. We need to focus on empowering the citizens. I don't know how else to say it. Empowerment is key. When we do this, it also helps break the poverty chain. If they're empowered, if they're educated, they become empowered, their options are widened, they can look for jobs and generate money to help themselves, to help their family. So we definitely need to create access to good educational system. I know that Sanusi is big on education, because I remember there's something I read recently, and he was talking about how these wealthy people shouldn't give him money to build more mosques, but they should give him money so they can build more schools. And even this mosque can be used for schools, can be used as schools rather, for underprivileged kids. So I see that he's big on education as well, and that is great. But there is something that I read that just gave me like red flags. Let me tell you about it. He spoke about how he urged the wealthy people to marry more than one wife. That urge, that plea, it worries me, because it sort of feels like women are commodities, like, oh, we're property sort of, and we should be grateful that they're taking care of us. So please, oh, rich people, go and marry more than one wife and take care of these women now, instead of them to be at home doing nothing. So that is the idea, or that is the vibe that I get from that statement. I understand cultural differences and I respect it, but I still can't shake that off. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Tell me what you think. I believe that instead of putting so much focus on women marrying, we should empower them, teach them skills that can allow them to find jobs so they can be self-sufficient, so that when they decide to get married, it's not because they have to, but because they want to. But it's evident that the Kano state government don't see any meaningful need for that, because they spent 200 million just last week in a recession for a mass wedding. 200 million that can do a lot. You can use 200 million for better healthcare, for education, agriculture. There's so much we can do with 200 million that the government decided to use it for a mass wedding. This is just another clear example of misplaced priority. So tell me what you think about the family bill. Should the poor be allowed to marry more than one wife? Do you think that this is a corny way of the government trying some form of population control among the poor? Do you also think that stripping off these title holders of their title, if they are physically abusive towards their wives, is the right approach to dealing with domestic violence in our country? And if there are other ideas or there are other solutions that you believe that should help curb these social vices that's really happening in the north, please drop your comments. I would definitely love to hear what you have to say. Thank you so much for watching today's vlog. My name is Lola Cynthia. Do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I will see you next week. Man should not be allowed to get married to another wife if he does not have the means of taking care of that child. Sorry, if he does not have the means of taking care of the woman.